What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Flippin Bats. It is Saturday with Smoltz, where every single Saturday, the Hall of Famer John Smoltz joins me here on Flippin Bats. The ALCS is set. We're getting the Astros. We're getting the Rangers. We're going to break down that entire series. John Smoltz will be on the call there in Houston and Texas with Joe Davis as well. Flippin Bats will be there, so we'll talk to him about that series, and we'll be able to talk to him there as well in the booth as we were last year. The top seeds: Baltimore, the Braves, the Dodgers. What's going on? What do you do if you're those teams? How do you handle this situation? Is this something that we might see change? That's something I'm going to talk to John about, as well as the Phillies D-backs series, and specifically where the Dodgers go from here. Consistently the best regular season team over the course of about a decade, but can't get it done in the playoffs. What do they need to change? How do they need to change it? And how can they go about that? But this is a really fun conversation. The ALCS and NLCS is set, and we're going to talk to John Smoltz all about it. So let's welcome in now the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz.
Fly ball onto the track, at the wall, it's gone! Home run!
Turns on a ball, deep right field, and gone!
What a game, what a moment.
All right, and I'm pumped to welcome him in now, John Smoltz. John, how are we doing this week?
Doing good. Got a lot of surprises, and I'm interested to see how the rest of this postseason is going to play out.
Absolutely, and a lot of those surprises came in the National League with the Braves and the Dodgers, the two top seeds, not winning a single series. We'll talk about the American League in a second, but what, in your mind, went wrong for the top seeds in the National League?
Well, the narrative's going to be the rest, and the offense got disconnected, right? Best offense in baseball, and Dodgers weren't too far behind. You get out of rhythm. It's a creatures of habit sport. You try to take yourself into a mentally tough situation, but you know it's going to take maybe another year or two to figure this thing out, and whether or not baseball is got to make some changes to adequately deal with, if this happens 3-4 years in a row, you got to look at it and you got to make some changes. But you got to give the other teams credit. They came in rolling. Philadelphia has, we talked before about they're a scary team. They got everything it needs to win it all, and they're proving that right now.
So what do you think specifically? I know you're a pitcher, obviously, but what is it with that layoff time that causes hitters to struggle? And do you think that is a big reason that we're seeing the Braves lineup that I've said is one of the best lineups I've ever seen go pretty radio silent during their playoff run?
Yeah, it's timing. You get out of timing. You know that the inter-squad games don't mean that much. You try to get yourself in ready shape, but it's just hard to do unless you've been there, done that. The only team that's been able to navigate it so far is Houston. Veteran team. They've been able to navigate their 5-day rest twice in a row now, and the other teams have not been able to do it. You understand Baltimore being a young team. They had to go through things for the first time, but the other teams, this should not have been an issue other than the reality of timing and hitting. That a pitcher can stay sharp. He doesn't lose as much. You can't throw every day. You got your bullpen. So I think for the hitters, it's really timing.
You were there in Baltimore. You were on the Orioles Rangers series, specifically with the Orioles. Outside of the layoff they had, what did you see with that team that was the #1 seed coming out of the American League? Super young, obviously. But on the other side of, on the National League side of things, you see a similar team, similar age, and the D-backs doing what they've done. Why weren't the Orioles able to get it going in October?
They had the pitching advantage for me, and they didn't take advantage of it. They didn't win the 2-strike battle. That games 1 and 2 could have flipped easily. I know 2 doesn't look like it could flip, but those 5 runs scored with 2 outs, 0-2 men on first. You think about that. That's not going to happen very often. So you make a pitch here or there with some great stuff. They just got to give Texas credit. They were hot. They basically came in there and took their walks, created havoc on the bases, and that's why they're so good. It's going to be a juggernaut offensively between the Astros and the Rangers. But I'm telling you, I can make a case for Baltimore winning that series if they took care of the 2-strike battle, and they didn't.
Let's talk about that series. Astros versus Rangers, ALCS. We'll both be there. Fox has the American League this year, and To me, this series is the Battle of Texas is going to be super exciting. What are your expectations for this series?
Well, I think all things considered, you would think this is going to be an offensive showcase, and it might. There's going to be some good individual pitching matchups, but unless those pitching rotations go 7 innings, you're going to have the opportunity to create some big innings. They both can do it. You got some hot hitters on both clubs. There is a layoff. They will be dealing with those 4 days, but Texas needed to heal up. They've been on the road. All that they only had one home game, and I think this is going to be must-watch TV. I really do. The classic matchups between two offensive teams, front end starting rotation, and a bullpen. Maybe you give the advantage to the Houston Astros, but so far so good for the Rangers.
I've been trying to figure out how Max Scherzer is going to be involved here because they've said he should be available for the ALCS, and now they've made it. But this is the same injury that Justin was dealing with at the beginning of the season. And he not only did it, he just come back from simulated games. He had to go on the road. He had to do the rehab assignments. And then he came back and he was on a pitch count for a little while. How realistic, John, is it to expect Max Scherzer, one of the greatest to do it, right? He's going to go in the Hall of Fame. But how realistic is it to expect him to come right back and just get implemented into the starting rotation during this series?
Well, I think he can go 3 innings, and I think they're going to piggyback any situation. They don't have a true 4 starter, and for that matter, a true 3 starter. So I think it's a combination of things that you piggyback Heaney and Max and maybe Gonzalez or Perez. There's ways to do it, and I think that is more doable than thinking, he can go 5. So I think he's in the mix. Then you also have Gray. If he comes back, he's your 3rd starter. And then maybe Max goes. It'll be interesting to see how they juggle it.
Absolutely. On the National League side of things, we get the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, a team that nobody expected to be there, and the D-backs. The Phillies, we talked about them a lot, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if they end up beating the Braves. They did it again this year, but the D-backs being there is definitely a surprise. What are your expectations in that Phillies-Diamondbacks series?
It's going to be the same for each team. The Phillies are going to slug, and the Diamondbacks are going to be fearless on the bases, aggressive early. Both starting staffs are going to be lined up the way they want it. Don't expect this series to be, some people might think this is going to be a quick series for the Philadelphia Phillies. I would not go there, but definitely Philadelphia will be the team favored. They've got home field advantage, and they have the experience. So I would not, and I said this before, I would not want to play the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's proven to be true. And we'll see how this next thing plays out.
Diamondbacks sweeping the Los Angeles Dodgers. John, what if you're the Dodgers, right? I think over the last decade, one of, if not the best regular season team that we have seen. Where do they go from here? Because it's constant at this point letdown in the playoffs, and year in and year out, it's an early exit. Aside from the 2020 season, it just seems like they're the best regular season team and then can't get it done in the playoffs. Where do they go from here?
Well, they've always taken chances on pitchers, and they've taken chances on pitchers who've been hurt a lot. And they got to figure out that process to get pitchers that are not hurt. And they're going to have Walker Buehler coming back. I don't know what Kershaw is going to do, but I said it, both remarkable years for the Dodgers and Braves. The Braves used 19 starters to get through the season. That became their Achilles heel when it got to the postseason. Yes, we talked about their offense, and you could say the same thing for the Dodgers. They have a lot of assets, but they didn't have a lot of givens in their front rotation. There are going to be things where they're going to develop those young pitchers, but they need some stable guys, in my opinion, to take care of the second season, which is the postseason. They've mastered the regular season. The second season is going to be teams figuring out, how do we get guys healthy and be in rhythm to take care of the most important part of the year?
So sometimes you get beat with your guys, right? Sometimes Justin's going to get hit on the mound. Sometimes Strider's going to get hit. Sometimes Zach Wheeler's going to get hit. But the Dodgers just don't have that guy that you feel comfortable. Kershaw obviously was that guy. I don't think he any longer is. I think they want Bobby Miller to be that guy. But you're saying right now they get into the playoffs and it's just like, who do you turn to as the guy to start off a series for your team on the mound?
Yeah, they have the guys in the lineup, and they need to get back to that prototypical closer, prototypical front end rotation guy Will that be Buehler? I don't know. Miller, I love. But I think the thing that the Dodgers had run into is they just got out of sync with their pitching. They went and tried to get Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn provides inning in the regular season. Unfortunately, one bad inning, 4 solo home runs. And look, every club's going to look and make assess their scenarios and how they play it differently if they're in that same situation next year. And certainly the playoff conversation has to be addressed. That is an issue, and we're going to see where it leads. Not only Major League Baseball, but teams making the adjustments when they do have the best. Otherwise, you don't want to go into the year thinking we don't want the best 2 records. Right. I mean, you want the best 2 records, and you want to play teams that have already played. So they're going to have to figure that out.
John, the ALCS is about to get underway. I will see you in Houston in a couple of days, my friend.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome. See ya.
You got it. Yep.
All right, just wanted to thank John Smoltz again for joining me. Always a lot of fun when he joins me here on Flippin Bats on Saturdays. But now going forward, it'll be a little bit more than that because we're all going on the road for the ALCS. We'll be talking to him in the booth throughout the series and throughout the World Series, and we'll be playing that back for you in different episodes and pregame shows, just how we did last year. So thank you all for listening to this episode of Flippin Bats. Make sure you are subscribed, following wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. We're also on all social media, including YouTube, where you can watch every single thing we do at Flippin Bats Pod for all of them. But that does it for Saturday with Smoltz. I am off to Houston, the ALCS. I will see you all then.